Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a short video here, talk about transmitters. For years and years I've had my trusty old Taranis X9D. It's one of the original Taranises, and I've enjoyed using it. I still enjoy using it. I've never had a problem with it. It's starting to get a bit long in the tooth, so I started fishing about and reading about these new breed of Chinese radios that were not just coming onto the market but been on the market for quite some time, made by two companies in particular, Radio Master and Jumper, in this kind of format. What are you looking at now? Open source radios. I like to use open source as much as I possibly can. So I went fishing about on the internet.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And I found this one.
Downwind Pro. Low rates. Manual. Throttle hold off. Return to home off. Flaps up. Switch off. Auto launch off.
Rather interesting little radio. Made by a company called Radioking, who apparently are quite a new company. Everybody's intrigued as to what's going on here, because this particular Radioking TX18s appears to be a cross between a Radio Master and a Jumper radio. And apparently both companies are denying making this Radioking, although there are conflicting reports about that. But that really doesn't matter. I mean, the good thing is, for us as a consumer, there seems to be a bit of a price war going on. And I couldn't believe the price of this thing. I got this thing delivered for £73 to the UK. That was £10 delivery. So the price of the radio at the time of purchase was £63. And it's working very well indeed. I kind of find fault with it. I've spent a few days with it and messed around with it, and the thing just works. Everything's working. I've had the back of it. I've had a look inside. I'll put some stills up. So there's a clear shot of the insides of the thing. Took the back of it. As you can see, it's clearly Jumper main board and 4-in-1. They call it 5-in-1, but hasn't got the 900 megahertz module plugged in. The 4-in-1 module in the center there, it binds to anything, just about anything. All Futaba, all GR, all FR Sky, all Spectrum, DSM, DSM2, DSMX, and most of the toy stuff that's out there too. So that 4-in-1 module itself makes this radio very powerful indeed. At the top of the, if you look at the top of the radio there's a charging circuit, which if you want to do that, I don't do that personally, but if you wanted to charge your battery in the radio, you can do that. So I checked everything, everything's fine, everything's tight, there's nothing loose. Checked all the connections. Haptic feedback unit to the bottom right of the transmitter there gives you haptic feedback, and I quite like that actually, because I've got it set up to let me know when switches and things are on center, and that just works. Incidentally, the screen on the front, you can see the ribbon cable there at the bottom next to the SD card slot, is for a touchscreen. That 4.3-inch screen on the front of the radio is actually a touch screen. Not functional yet in OpenTX, but I'm hearing that it will be in the next version, so that could be a handy feature. So yeah, all in all, tidy radio inside, no complaints.
Welcome to OpenTX. Downwind Pro. low rates, manual, throttle hold off, return to home off, flaps up, switch off, auto launch off.
Just, it's got everything in it, haptic feedback, and the speaker sounds good. Hall sensor gimbals, because what really started this for me was I went looking for Hall sensor gimbals for this Taranis. It was going to be costing me around about, with postage, nearly £60, and I thought, this is crazy. And I thought, well, God, I can buy a whole radio here for £63. So that's what I did. Bought it from a company in China that I've never heard of before. I'll put a link up to that as well. And they were excellent with me. Kept in touch with me via Skype the whole time the order was placed. You know, you find these Chinese companies you've never dealt with and you wonder, but this one certainly was okay for me. So anyway, what I've done is I've recreated my models on the Radio King from the Taranis. Unfortunately, my Taranis is so old now and it has such an old version of OpenTX on it, I couldn't transfer the model straight over, so I've had to do them manually, and it's been a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest, but I've got it done. So it's got a B on the back for a standard GRB. You can see my UHF transmitter module in there. At this point, I'd just like to say a little bit about using UHF modules, not only with this radio, but with most radios. In fact, most electronic things don't like UHF 430, 40 megahertz around them. My Taranis did the same, and I had to take the back off that, put some screening in that, and I've had to do the same with this radio. As you can see, there's a shot of the back of the radio I took off, and I've used copper tape to screen the back of the radio, and that stopped the interference. That back of that radio is grounded to the chassis when it's attached. So it was just a note for anybody wanting to use the radio with a UHF transmitter module, then you probably will have to do some work like this to stop the RF getting into the radio. But please note, this applies to UHF. I don't think it applies to 900 megahertz stuff like crossfire modules and things. I haven't got one of those to test, so I wouldn't be sure, but I don't think it does. I think it's only the 433 megahertz stuff that causes a problem. A friend of mine printed out a 3D stand there for it, because that doesn't actually, this is too big to go on the bed of my 3D printer. And I made this antenna mount, and I can mount this whip on there, or I can also use my little 2-element beam that I like to use. So yeah, everything's fine. I mean,
High rates, medium rates, low rates, stabilize, cruise, stabilize, manual.
everything works. I made some 3D printed arms for the sliders there. You can see the white one. The little slider arms on the shoulders are not very big, and I went on Thingiverse and found those 3D printed ones, so I printed a pair of those out. That's really the only modification that I've done with this thing. The unit I've bought, I'd read some earlier reports about it having problems, this and that, the other. The one I've received doesn't appear to have any of those problems at all, and I'm quite pleased with that. The only thing I could find on the inside was that the wires and cables that they've used on the inside are not silicon. So maybe in about 8 or 9 years time some of them wires may give out. I'm not worried one jot about that. I mean, by that time this radio will be long gone. So I'm for £63, dear me, I can't believe it, to be honest. So if there's a price, if this is a price war that's going on between these Chinese manufacturers, may it long continue, because there's only us, the consumer, that are going to benefit from it. So let it keep going on. Anyway, I just wanted to say a little bit about it, and I'm going to fly with it over the summer, if we ever get out of lockdown here in the UK, and see how it goes, and eventually it'll probably become my daily driver, and we'll report back maybe a little bit later in the season and let you know what happened.